"Sweetheart, you're just being paranoid," my father said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "Sandra's a nurse, for heaven's sake. Why would she want to hurt you?" I lay in a hospital bed, my vision blurry and my stomach churning with pain that had nothing to do with the food poisoning everyone insisted I had. My name is Emma Mitchell, and at 28, I was fighting for my life while my family defended the woman who put me here. It started 3 months ago when my father married Sandra, a pediatric nurse he'd met at a charity event. She was everything he thought he needed after Mom's death: charming, sophisticated, and 15 years his junior. From the beginning, something felt off about her, but everyone was too enchanted by her perfect smile and caring demeanor to notice. The first incident happened during a family dinner at their house. I noticed a strange bitter taste in my coffee but brushed it off. Within hours, I was violently ill. "Must be a stomach bug," Sandra had said, her concern seemingly perfect. "I'll take care of you. That's what nurses do." The episodes continued, always after eating or drinking something Sandra had prepared, always when others weren't watching. Each time, the symptoms got worse. Each time, my protests were met with eye rolls and accusations of jealousy. "Emma, honey," Sandra would say, her voice dripping with fake sympathy, "maybe you should see someone about these paranoid thoughts. It's not healthy to be so suspicious." Last night was different. I saw her slip something into my water glass when she thought I wasn't looking. But I was. I've been watching her like a hawk for weeks. I pretended to drink it, but the small sip I accidentally took was enough. Within minutes, my throat started closing up. Now, lying in the ICU with tubes running from my arms, I could hear them arguing outside my room. "Dad, she tried to kill me," I whispered as he sat beside my bed. "I saw her put something in my drink." "I must stop this," he snapped. "Sandra's been nothing but kind to you. She's worried sick. The doctors say it's just severe food poisoning. Why are you trying to destroy our family?" I turned away, tears streaming down my face. The beeping of monitors filled the silence between us. What he didn't know is that before losing consciousness last night, I'd managed to send a text to my best friend Kate, a laboratory technician at the hospital. "Please," I'd written, "test everything. Don't let them brush this off." Kate had come through while my family hovered around Sandra, consoling her through her theatrical tears. Kate had quietly ordered comprehensive toxicology screens. She'd also convinced the emergency room doctor to document every symptom, every irregular test result. "Your daughter shows signs of long-term poisoning," I overheard Dr. Martinez telling my father in the hallway. "We're running detailed blood work." "That's ridiculous," Sandra interrupted, appearing suddenly. "I'm a nurse, I would have noticed. It's clearly just food poisoning. Maybe she has a sensitive stomach." I watched through the glass as she placed a comforting hand on my father's arm. He melted into her touch, already dismissing the doctor's concerns. The perfect wife, the caring nurse, she crafted her image masterfully. But she didn't know about Kate. Didn't know about the samples being rushed through testing. Didn't know that every time she'd poisoned me, my body had been keeping score, storing evidence in my tissues and blood. "I think we should transfer her to a different hospital," I heard Sandra suggest sweetly. "My colleague at Metro General would be happy to take her case." My heart rate spiked. She was trying to move me before the test results came back, before her carefully constructed facade could crack. "That won't be necessary," Dr. Martinez said firmly. "We have all the equipment we need here." I closed my eyes, pretending to sleep. As Sandra entered my room, I could feel her presence, hear her soft footsteps approaching my bed. "Oh, Emma," she sighed loudly enough for anyone passing to hear. "I wish she'd stop this attention-seeking behavior. It's so hard on your father." The monitors caught the acceleration of my heart rate, but nobody noticed how her words held a threat beneath the concern. Nobody except me. As she left, I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and texted Kate, "How much longer for the results?" Her response made my breath catch, "Tomorrow morning, hold on." We've got her. I stared at the ceiling, counting hours. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Sandra had no idea that her perfect crime was about to unravel, that her role as the caring nurse was about to transform into something much darker. Outside my room, I could hear my father consoling Sandra, apologizing for his troubled daughter's accusations. Soon, he would learn just how wrong he was about everything. The night stretched ahead, filled with beeping monitors and hourly vitals checks. Each time a nurse entered, one I didn't know and trust, I watched them carefully, afraid Sandra might try something more desperate. But for now, all I could do was wait, knowing that somewhere in the hospital's laboratory, the truth was finally coming to light. The morning brought chaos. I woke to raised voices in the hallway, the sharp tone of Dr. Martinez cutting through Sandra's practice sobs. These levels are impossible in cases of food poisoning, the doctor was saying. The toxicology report shows significant amounts of antifreeze compounds and prescription medications in her system, built up over months. That's absurd, Sandra's voice cracked perfectly. I'm a nurse. I would never. A nurse, Kate interrupted, her voice steady, who had access to these medications. The blood work shows a pattern of systematic poisoning, not a single incident. I pressed the call button, and within moments, Dr. Martinez entered my room, followed by Kate, my father, and Sandra. The look on my father's face made my heart ache, confusion, disbelief, and the first traces of terrible realization. Emma, Dr. Martinez began, we have your test results. The toxicology report shows, this is ridiculous, Sandra cut in. She's obviously been doing this to herself to frame me. She's been jealous since day one. My father's face paled. Self-poisoning? Emma, would you really? The pattern of poisoning, Kate interjected firmly, corresponds exactly with family dinners and visits to your house. We have documentation of each hospital admission, each mysterious illness. The concentrations in her tissue samples tell a clear story. Sandra's perfect mask began to crack. You can't prove anything. I'm a respected medical professional. Who would believe? The police would, Dr. Martinez said quietly, which is why they're on their way. The change in Sandra was instant and terrifying. Her sympathetic smile twisted into something ugly. You ungrateful little brat, she hissed at me. I tried to do this quietly, give you a dignified exit, but you just wouldn't die. My father stumbled backward as if physically struck. Sandra, what are you saying? Your precious daughter, she spat, stood in the way of everything. Do you know what your will says, David? Everything goes to her. Everything. I wouldn't get a penny. The room fell silent except for the steady beeping of monitors. My father's face had gone from pale to ashen. You married me for money? Of course I did, Sandra laughed, a horrible, hollow sound. You think I wanted a man twice my age? But your perfect little Emma had to ruin everything. Couldn't just get sick and die like she was supposed to. 2 police officers appeared in the doorway, summoned by Kate's silent signal. Sandra's eyes darted around like a trapped animal's. Mrs. Mitchell, one officer started. That's not my real name, Sandra sneered. You think David was my first? Rich men with grown daughters are so vulnerable. As the officers moved to arrest her, Sandra lunged toward my forestand. Kate intercepted her, proving that years of kickboxing classes paid off. The officers quickly restrained Sandra, leading her away as she screamed threats and accusations. My father collapsed into the chair beside my bed, his head in his hands. Emma, I'm so sorry, he sobbed. I didn't believe you, my own daughter, and I didn't believe you. I reached for his hand, my own anger warring with compassion for his pain. You loved her, Dad. She knew exactly how to use that. Kate and Dr. Martinez quietly left us alone, though I knew they'd be back soon with more questions, more tests, more documentation for the case against Sandra. I should have seen it, my father continued. The way she always insisted on preparing your drinks, how she volunteered to nurse you when you got sick. I thought she was being kind. She was good at her act, I said softly. That's how she got away with it before. His head snapped up. Before? Kate did some digging, I explained. There are 2 other cases in different states. Rich men, dead daughters. She disappeared before anyone could prove anything. My father's face crumpled again, the weight of his mistake crushing him. I brought her into our lives. I gave her the chance to hurt you. I squeezed his hand. Dad, listen to me. She fooled everyone, doctors, nurses, her colleagues. The only reason she didn't succeed was because of Kate and Dr. Martinez believing me. Outside the room, I could hear the buzz of activity as police officers interviewed staff, collected evidence, and built their case. Sandra's perfect plan had fallen apart, her history of similar crimes surfacing as detectives dug deeper. How can I ever make this right? My father asked, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Just believe me next time, I said, managing a small smile, and maybe let me pick your next girlfriend. He let out a wet laugh, clutching my hand tighter. We had a long way to go, my recovery, his healing, rebuilding our trust. But at least now we could start with the truth finally exposed and Sandra's poisonous influence removed from our lives. The monitors beeped steadily, marking each moment of my survival, each breath that proved Sandra had failed. I was alive, and she was the one who would rot away, not from poison, but behind bars where she belonged. 6 months after Sandra's arrest, I sat in a courtroom, watching as she stood for sentencing. Gone was the perfectly equipped nurse who charmed everyone. In her place stood a bitter, angry woman in an orange jumpsuit, glaring at me with undisguised hatred. Based on the evidence presented, the judge began, including the testimony of medical experts, documented poisoning patterns, and the defendant's history of similar crimes in other states. This court sentences Sandra Mitchell, also known as Sandra Pierce and Sandra Collins, to 25 years in prison without possibility of parole. The gavel struck, and Sandra's mask finally shattered completely. "You think this is over?" she screamed as officers led her away. "There are others like me, women who know what to do with spoiled little rich girls like you." I felt my father's hand tighten around mine. We had come a long way since that day in the hospital. Therapy, both individual and together, had helped us rebuild our relationship. The guilt he carried was slowly being replaced by determination to make amends. Kate, sitting on my other side, squeezed my shoulder. "Let's get out of here," she said. "I think this calls for a celebration." We left the courthouse together, stepping into the bright autumn sunshine. My recovery had been slow but steady. The lasting effects of the poisoning would require ongoing medical monitoring, but I was alive. More than that, I was stronger. "I have something to show you both," my father said as we reached his car. "A surprise." He drove us to our old family home, the one where Sandra had systematically poisoned me during those family dinners. I hesitated at the front door, memories of bitter-tasting drinks and hidden toxins flooding back. "Dad, I don't think I can." "Trust me, sweetheart," he said softly, opening the door. The interior had been completely transformed. The kitchen where Sandra had prepared her poisoned meals was gone, replaced by a bright, modern space with state-of-the-art appliances. The dining room, where I'd slowly been killed, had become a sunny sitting area. "I sold the other house," he explained. "Too many bad memories. I thought we could make new ones here in the home you grew up in. If you want." I walked through the rooms, touching familiar walls, now painted in warm, welcoming colors. My old bedroom upstairs had been preserved but updated, ready if I ever needed it. "The security system is top of the line," Kate noted approvingly. "And I see cameras in the kitchen." My father nodded. "Never again," he said firmly. "No one will ever hurt my daughter in this house again." We ended up in the kitchen, where Kate immediately began examining the new coffee maker with its built-in water filter. My father pulled out 3 mugs, then hesitated. "Maybe we should stick to bottled water for now," he said uncertainly. I shook my head and stepped forward. "No, Dad. We can't live in fear forever. That's what Sandra would want. I prepared coffee for all of us, my hands steady as I poured. We sat at the new kitchen island, the afternoon sun streaming through windows that had once witnessed so much darkness. I have news, too, I said, pulling out my laptop. Remember how the investigation found other families Sandra had destroyed? They nodded, and I opened a document I'd been working on for months. I started a foundation, I explained, for victims of medical abuse and their families. We're going to help people recognize the signs, provide legal support, and connect them with trustworthy healthcare providers. My father's eyes filled with tears. You're amazing, you know that? Taking something so horrible and turning it into help for others. I had good examples, I said, smiling at both him and Kate, people who taught me that the truth always comes out and that healing is possible. Kate raised her coffee mug. To the Mitchell Family Foundation for Medical Justice, and to Emma, the strongest person I know. To family, my father added, real family who believe and protect each other. To survival, I finished, clinking my mug against theirs. Later that evening, as we sat in the new living room planning the Foundation's first fundraising event, I felt a deep sense of peace. Sandra had tried to destroy me, to tear apart my family and end my life. Instead, she'd inadvertently made us stronger, closer, and more determined to prevent others from suffering the same fate. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Martinez, who had agreed to serve on the Foundation's medical advisory board. Just reviewed another case, she wrote. Thanks to your story, we caught it early. She's going to be okay. I smiled, showing the message to my father and Kate. This was how we won, not just by surviving, but by turning our survival into protection for others. Sandra might spend her years in prison plotting revenge, but I would spend mine saving lives and rebuilding trust. The sun set on our first day in the renewed house, casting long shadows that no longer held any threat. We were safe. We were together. And we were healing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment, but proof that you can't break someone's spirit, no matter how hard you try.